Why, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Nullius mod. This is Otaku Showboat, and today we're gonna start off with the version update that happened on the 9th of October. Added a new lower tech large tank 1 is the biggest change here affecting the current playthrough. By doing this, the original Tank 1 was renamed to Tank 2, Large Tank 2, and the Large Tank 2 was renamed to Tank 3. All Large Tank 1 entities were changed to Large Tank 2s. The capacity is increased 25% for large tanks. The pressure goes up to 110% for Large Tank 2s. Etc., etc. You need the new Tank 1 as an ingredient for the Tank 2, so had to go in and set that up. And then we've got reducing the energy cost of copper smelting, which we're not doing yet. Revert tritium cost of uranium enrichment to prior value. Okay. Increase helium output of breeder cell recycling. Okay. I have a few thoughts about fusion cells and breeder cells, because I looked into that, and yeah, I have a few thoughts, just a few thoughts about that mess of a system, particularly tritium, particularly heavy water for tritium, particularly wastewater for heavy water for tritium. Not so much deuterium. That's still bad, but we need to have a bit of a conversation about all of that. Reduced reactor heat capacity. Okay, increased hangar energy input flow limit. Sure. Fixed stuff. Added compatibility. Cool. They did the thing. In today's video, we are not gonna do anything. Instead, we're not gonna build anything. We're going to do a base overview. That is going to be the purpose of the day today, because I did a lot between the last day's video, which was Monday, and today's video, which is Tuesday, on releases of the videos, because I've had many days, an entire weekend, to muck about with stuff with the power of physics science. I have all of the physics science now, and save for one exception, I have not progressed down any of the new lines, new chains. There's one very specific exception, and I will talk about that. That specific exception was calcium for a new titanium ingot recipe that I needed in order to keep the infrastructure building moving. Was very titanium limited, and the calcium recipe is a huge gain on ingots by comparison to using titanium tetrachloride and all of that. It's a huge difference. So I made an exception for that. We're going to need to make calcium together for other things regardless as well. But yeah, we're not doing helium yet. I'm not making the better bots yet. I need red processors. I need lots and lots of things that are now unlocked at physics science before we can start launching rockets to get into astronomical science. So, I want to go through every single aspect of the base as it currently stands. And the very, very first place to start will need to be the mall. And a fundamental change that I have made that you can probably see here. I am no longer focused on using solar panels. Why? There's a very specific reason, and that is if I go into my power grid, I now have 1,000 Stirling Engine 2s. This is capable of producing 2.5 gigawatts of power. But the problem I was having that I have brought up is the fact that grid batteries are a backup. Meaning that if your base is using grid batteries, it cannot operate surge items, infrastructure. They won't run when you're using grid batteries for whatever reason. So rather than having my surge production limited to 70% of their overall output over the course of a day, and rather than continue to utilize the compressed nitrogen, which, by the way, the compressed nitrogen wasn't the best option for using turbines. Yeah, at this point in time, the compressed air is more fuel value than converting it into compressed nitrogen with a lower loss. There's still a loss, don't get me wrong, but yeah, having access to filter 3s, air filter 3s, as well as surge compressor 3s now, it made a very interesting, nice little setup that I built and then deleted in favor of the Stirling engines, as well as solar collector 2s. Now, I have 9 per Stirling engine. I'm basically ignoring the neighbor bonus out of these at this point in time. I wanted to make sure I had enough heat to last the full 24 hours if the Stirling engine needed to run 24/7. I just wanted to make absolutely sure. Is it at a ratio? Is it built efficiently? No. Nor will I change it to be efficiently, nor do I care what the actual ratio of solar collector 2s to Stirling engine 2s should be to last over the course of the day. Nor do I care about the ratio of Stirling engine 3s to solar collector 3s. I've built what I've built, and I'm scaling it as needed. Well, as I have the infrastructure for it, I should say. Oh, look, I have the infrastructure. So each one of these lines is 100 Stirling engines and 900 solar collectors. So all I need to do is just grab all of this and just go over, line it up, and plonk it. And I just added 250 megawatts of power to my base by doing that. Each one of these is 2.5 megawatts times 100. It's actually really glorious and a lot more power dense. Ish. So if you combine solar panel output with the necessary grid battery output that you would need to sustain that solar output, this is more dense than solar panels. More compact, better utilization of space. We'll see what happens with UPS over time. I do have a few solar panels left, and by a few I mean 2.9K. I had 19K solar panel 2s, and I have a whole bunch of grid battery 1s they're just gonna stay there for now. All of them. I have a few placed at this moment in time. So that's the power situation. You may have also noticed all this color, all of this color that I have here. I needed hazard concrete. I need hazard concrete boxes for future stuff. Not for stuff right now, but for future stuff. We're gonna need some hazardcrete, which requires yellow plus black concrete. And the black requires red and blue plus graphite. So we have red, blue, and yellow. And then there's also purple out of blue and red, green out of blue and yellow, and brown out of red and yellow. All right, that's great. I decided I'm going to have all of this reinforced concrete. It gives 160% speed bonus, and since I wanted it all over my mall so that I could actually walk faster, along with this hazardcrete up here, decided, you know what, let's see how all of these colors look. They are extremely vibrant. I like the blue, of course, and I like the black. And, you know, standard gray is standard. Not colorized. So there's all that done at this point. What else has changed in the mall? Well, I have a bit more production on the titanium plates, and a bunch of buildings were upgraded to the level 3s. I now have access to level 3 distilleries, level 3 surge electrolyzers, level 3 chemical plants, level 3 flotation cells, level 3 hydro plants, and inserter 4s, and belt 4s, with underground belt 4s and splitter 4s. And I have been using these greens. I have a lot of these. I do not have mini loader 3s for the green equivalent. I don't have those because they require red processors. Red circuits are a necessity. I also have pipe 4s in abundance now. So I'm using those rather than the pipe 3s. I now have pump 3s that I'm definitely going to be using for my train network input and outputs. These move 9,600 per second, which is great when going from one tank into another. And of course, I mentioned I have air filter 3s as well as surge compressor 3s. And of course, I have priority turbines. So, Stirling engines don't have that same issue as grid batteries do. Meaning that if I put a priority turbine down, well, the only thing it has to compete with is wind turbines. It has the same priority level as wind turbines, which I believe is a level above Stirling engines. So I will always use the output of these priority turbine 2s, which means I can now do the compressed air into compressed nitrogen recipes and adjust whenever I need carbon dioxide, and adjust to put on those engines to get rid of the nitrogen and offset the cost of the factory somewhat. It doesn't completely offset, no, but it does reduce the overall power draw of the base when reusing that nitrogen for stuffs. Alright, just general scaling has happened over here with a lot more crucibles and a lot more pipe 2s, because for whatever reason I was running low on pipe 2s, and just general scaling things have happened. Yeah, just lots and lots of scaling things have happened here in the mall. There's not too much else to really say here as I show all of the random stuff that's being made in here at this moment in time. So, this used to be an iron base. It is no longer an iron base. It has been replaced. This here is lube, as well as methanol canisters provided onto the network. I have needed to scale my lube. I actually had to come here and replace these with Chemplant 3s, as well as give it more hydrogen chloride production so that I could actually have enough lube. You don't need a lot, and it's low output, low throughput for lubricant, but as it turns out, I needed more, so I came here and I got more. We might need more of these at some point, but we'll see about that. Next door to that, this is the hydrogen chloride stuff and dealing with all of that and making benzene in here and dealing with the excess other stuff. But over here, this area has been modified. Yes, this area has been a bit modified. It is now not an aluminum plate factory. Not exactly. Once it runs out of the plates, it'll stop functioning there. But it is giving me the hydroxide alumina and the carbide. But the one main thing here is that this is exclusively making insulated wires. And in fact, did I? Yes. I actually have brought in boxed aluminum ingots so that I could make these insulated wires. A lot of them. So there's that insulated wire factory now. My iron mining has expanded, although it looks like I will need to come in here and move my mining, because I seem to be mining myself out a little bit over here with these large miner 2s. And they're boxing and producing for me a blue belt throughput, full throughput blue belt of boxed iron ore, which not using all of it right now, but will be doing so in the future. Where shall we go from here? Here, I haven't touched this base in a really long time. This is my hydrochloric acid and hydrogen chloride base, the original base producing those. Haven't really needed more of them quite yet. I managed to build it to a good scale from the start. Next to that, I have a caustic build. I say a caustic build because this has, I have gone somewhere else and made another caustic build away from all of this, because this was the original caustic solution, aka aqueous sodium hydroxide, but whatever. Caustic solution that is essentially it's voiding limestone. I do need to come down and move this limestone as well, because it's getting a little bit tapped out too. This makes caustic, but I dump it. Caustic? No, this makes calcium chloride solution, but I dump it here. I could and should use that, but as I said, I have a different base for that. Sodium hydroxide I will need more of. So that's on my agenda. My to-do list is to scale up / use more sodium hydroxide from there. Okay. Next. Let's go this side and up and over and then down into the rest of this. So over here, we have Silica Processing, or shall I say Sandstone Processing, or shall I actually say... it's making polycrystalline silicon. That's its main output here, is the polycrystalline silicon. It is outputting silica, but really it's the polycrystalline that I need here. So much so that not only am I processing sandstone, I'm processing it into bricks, but I'm also processing it into sand, but I'm providing more sand for all of these beautiful flotation cell 3s with productivity. To give me more silica, they go in and they make those ingots. Pretty sure there's a better ingot recipe by now. And I can change these buildings whenever, but this is making polycrystalline silicon, and I still need to go over here and place in more modules. I need to replace modules. I need to update the whole thing, but whatever. Slowly but surely. Next to it, I have BPA plastic, as well as the acrylonitrile solvent butadiene-based rubber recipes. This is making plenty of plastic. The only thing I need is more rubber, ideally, which would need a bit more tweaking and adjusting, but that tweaking and adjusting can just be increase the level of these buildings to level 3s with proper modules on all of them, and that will be fine. That will give me plenty enough to be able to scale this again. Might need another one of these chem plants. Oh, wait, it'll go to level 3. That'll basically double its output. So never mind. I'll have plenty of acrylonitrile. This means that I'm spending a little bit of propene, which is actually being made back there, as well as ammonia, to make that acrylonitrile, and I am not processing something in here. I forget what. I think I'm just doing lots of voiding of excess. Yeah, I am voiding excess thingies over there. So, plastic in abundance. I forget exactly how much. It's less than 15. I think it's like 12 something plastic, and 7.5, 7-ish, I forget, on the rubber. More than the 4.5 I was making. I think it's like 8 or 8.5. Something along those lines, anyway. Steel! All of the steel ever. I need more buildings. I need to go up there to get more. Oh, you're limited by... Oh. It would seem I need more lime. I have a solution to that. I actually already have the solution to that. I just need to, like, come in and update the steel. But, yeah, it's iron ingot boxes in. Because, of course, I'm making iron ingot boxes somewhere. As well as lime boxes into boxed steel ingots. Yeah, getting rid of the waste product, gravel, getting my steel sheets, steel rods, steel beams, steel plates, steel sheets, steel cables for wires, and steel gears. All of the steel. Beautiful, wonderful, glorious steel. Although, looks like I do need more wires and more rods and more sheets overall. There's a bit of a backlog on the sheets as well as the wires, so I'm not exactly... I don't have a problem at the moment. But yeah, I do need quite a few rods. Over here, basic lime processing. It's pretty much replaced for the lime part of this, and we'll see that as we go. The crushed limestone is still relevant here. I do need to make sure that I keep getting more ore and fix that little issue as well. Up here, propene provided onto the train network. This section makes 1,000 propene. Each unit is 100 propene. But this section is the updated section. This section makes 1,000 all by itself. Up to 1,000, I think I have pipe throughput taken care of. I am using the glorious pipe 4s all throughout it, and it's following my latest and greatest design philosophy here. So, the primary recipe is here. This is alkene synthesis, providing the propene. It needs the compressed carbon monoxide as well as compressed hydrogen. It produces benzene and ethylene. The benzene is being reprocessed, actually, and the ethylene is being pyrolyzed down into more benzene, propene, and methane. The methane is being converted back into ethylene, and that's getting looped in here for more propene out, as well as more benzene out. The benzene, you need to add steam, but the benzene processes into carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen. Sadly, there is no recipe that converts the benzene into compressed carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen. So I had to compress it myself for use in the system. I can directly take in carbon dioxide compressed to make the carbon monoxide. And then here we have the new setup on making compressed carbon dioxide. So, a surge compressor 3 with 4 air filter 3s is able to provide a lot of compressed air. A lot of it. For this distillery. This distillery will make a lot of nitrogen that I can then offset the power draw from. With priority turbines, it needs a few priority turbines. I can do the same thing with the residual gas that is output from here, or whatever the heck it's called. This gas that you would convert into argon. This gas can also have a priority turbine to get rid of it. And that's what I've done. That is precisely what I have done. The steam is just coming from standard combustion of compressed oxygen and hydrogen. And then I have my array of surge electrolyzer 3s over here. I've had to split the output of these in half into sets of 16. 2 sets of 16. I did mirror as well, half of these. And I'm throwing it all into a large tank too. And this seems to work fine without needing to have another split for the outputs, so long as I have a few extra pumps along the way. And I do have a top-up valve here because I'm using the compressed hydrogen out of the benzene reprocessing as well. And it just seems to work. It seems to be working just fine right now. I'm not using 2,000 units of propene consistently, but if everything in my base were to be running at 100%, I would need more than 1,000 units of propane at this moment in time. All right, so across the street over here, we have Bauxite Processing into my aluminum ingots. It's pretty self-explanatory. There is a new process for this available to me that I have not done. And I don't know if I will do. But just know that there is, I think, something new as well. With soda ash. Yeah. Right here. This is now a thing to add in. So, that's interesting. So it will make carbide. So you have to do ingot 2 and 3. And you can eliminate this process. Yeah, you just replace this process here that's making carbide plus ingots out of alumina with the new recipe for aluminum ingot 3. Add in soda ash. Oh, that's interesting. That's not boxed. Because I wasn't looking at boxed. If I was looking at boxed, it should tell me, yeah, this recipe. So replace this line with this recipe, adding in soda ash as well, and then leave this recipe here as is, which is box 1, taking in alumina and carbide. Oh, and I guess you have to add water to this as well. Oof, that changes the logistics dramatically. Could be useful. Could be quite useful. Do I have a need for more right now? Not really. Not really, no. Up here, more aluminum products. Essentially, the other aluminum products besides the insulated wires. We've got the plates, the sheets, the rods, and the wires, or the cables. Wires. These are the wires. Oh, right, these are wires. I am providing the wires. I'm like confusing with steel, but anyway. With steel, there's wires into cables. I provide the cables, and I actually just make wires at my mall. Something along those lines. Graphene, we did in our previous video, and I finished up the graphene build, save for a few extra modules I need to come here and do. This makes 5 graphene per second in total. In total, it makes 5 graphene per second. I haven't come over here to change to the level 3 infrastructure, but just know that, yeah, I could modify this as well. It makes its polycrystalline silicon local, and that is that. I have enough graphene for my base now. And then we go to this other side over here. Over here, iron ingot processing. I want to make it very clear that I've very specifically chosen not to go into iron oxide first. That this is making the ingots, and this is only making the ingots out of the crushed iron. It's different. I wanted to provide, I guess, iron boxes, but there is no large furnace boxed recipe to make boxed iron ingots from the crushed iron directly. The only one we have is the one that uses the iron oxide. I didn't want to do that because at this scale, to process a blue belt of iron ore boxes, in order to process a blue belt of iron ore boxes would have cost over 600 caustic per second, like 640 caustic solution per second, and I wasn't about that life. I didn't want to spend that much caustic on one build. It's as simple as that. For just getting iron ingot boxes? No, I'm not going to do that for a modest increase in the overall output versus just not spending that much caustic. It costs way too much caustic solution, in my opinion, to justify the moderate increase in overall output. Yeah, it's just, there's too little gain for too much cost on the caustic to go through the iron oxide. I still need to do the iron oxide and provide the iron oxide, and I have that factory built providing iron oxide for some infrastructure and other things. But yeah, when it comes to just needing ingots, I'm just gonna do the crushed, as even though it's not the most efficient that I have access to, it's too much caustic, just way too much caustic. Now I do need hydrochloric acid, so I have this to make hydrochloric acid over here, and it dumps the excess caustic so that I can void the byproduct stone and gravel from this. Oh, I think I may need that. I think I may need that. But yeah, it's making a lot as it is, more than I need currently. So that'll be that. Over here, speaking of caustic. Speaking of oh god, hi. I need to change those mining drills. Move those. Yeah, that would explain a lot, actually. Yeah. That would explain quite a lot. Okay, so this area over here, it's making lime from limestone in a rather large build. This will continue to scale as I actually keep mining more and more and mine full belts worth of stuff, boxes of stuff. But and I'm providing lime to the network. But this over here is updated caustic, as well as calcium chloride solution. This will provide calcium chloride solution. This is a dedicated calcium chloride solution process. Well, not really. It's a dedicated sodium hydroxide. It's providing sodium hydroxide onto the network. But wait, why are you... Right, because it needs to deal with the chlorine. It needs that lime for this. This is an updated recipe, a new recipe. Not really updated, but a different recipe than what I was doing previously to get into the caustic solution. To get into the calcium chloride solution. This recipe directly takes in chlorine rather than having to process it into hydrochloric acid, which is useful for its simplicity. It does need lime instead of crushed limestone, though. So just give it lime and chlorine, and you'll get calcium chloride solution. I dump the excess on both of these. maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't do that, because that's always going to spend my lime and effectively void limestone. But I think I'm gonna be okay with that. I'll need to eventually add in a thingy to bring in limestone from the train network, or magic limestone back here. Or, you know, I could just magic limestone eventually. Who knows? Maybe I'll be able to magic ore patches onto the ground on a whim, wherever I want it to be. Maybe that's a thing that will happen at some point in the relatively near future. Over here, dedicated polycrystalline again. More polycrystalline was absolutely required. Processing out of sandboxes. Why? Because monocrystalline uses a lot of polycrystalline, and I needed a lot of monocrystalline silicon, so there you go. More stuffs and things. And then there's this. One of my most recent of builds. It's got our same little setup here, using the priority turbines to get rid of excess stuffs. This build needs argon. This build needs nothing else. This build needs argon, so I'm actually getting rid of the the carbon dioxide and the nitrogen here, compressed versions. I have my compression here. What is this making? This is making carbon composite boxes. How many carbon composite boxes? I have already forgotten. 5 boxes of carbon composite. Not to be confused with 5 graphene. These are 5 boxes of carbon composite. Why? Because it's essentially made out of nothing. With maybe the exception of epoxy, but even that I would say still made out of nothing in the grand scheme. Also using my large tanks here with my pump 3s. This is able to do it. So you need to make acrylonitrile. That's what a lot of this back end is for that acrylonitrile. You need the acrylic fiber, which is water plus acrylonitrile to make these fibers, acrylic fibers. Argon, adding argon to that produces carbon fibers somehow. And it produces ammonia, which I am cycling back and preferentially using that ammonia. And then you add epoxy to those carbon fibers to get the carbon composites. Now, of course, the most expensive stuff here is that epoxy. It needs, if this thing is going at full bore, it needs 200 epoxy. 185.2 epoxy to get going. There's a reason I scaled my propene. There's a reason I scaled my propene. Okay. Next up, we have this and this over here. Let's go down here. Glass is done over here out of boxed sand to make the glass, and it is making the glass. There is a better recipe to make the glass. I may change to it depending on my needs, but for now, after upgrading these to Foundry 3s and Flotation Cell 3s and Hydroplant 3s up here, I am making enough. But there are better options for this. It's a lot of infrastructure, really slow recipe here. Up here is Bauxite Mining, just regular old bauxite and sandstone mining from over here. Very, very simple stuff indeed. Down here, we have Iron! Iron intermediates. All of them. Every single one of them. With dedicated builds, actually. This is a little bit different because I'm actually converting the ingots that I unbox down here, converting the ingots into the rods and plates for the gears, into the plates, 4 plates, into plates for sheets, into wires for wires, and into wires for cables. Cables? Rods for wires. The names. Words. Rods for rods, rods for wires. That's the names. Words. Language. Yes. Must continue. I will eventually have access to extractor 2s. Gonna take a little bit to build those. Oh, I could just build those. Oops. I can just build those, and that would actually double the output of the gas extractors here. Reminder that this is my effectively only volcanic gas, besides a few over here that are lower percentage. I haven't come across any more volcanic gas. That may be a reason to use scout drones. I've tested out the scout drones a little bit. It's artillery, and it's got a little remote that you just click within the artillery range. Just have the turret coverage thing on the map. Okay. So that's all of the iron stuff being made, processing those ingots. Over here I have empty barrels and empty canisters. Dedicated production for empty barrels and canisters. Oddly enough, it looks like I'm sending out empty barrels to Chem Science right now. I need to go through this and upgrade its productivity as well as the buildings to higher mark levels to improve their outputs, but otherwise that's fine. This is just the volcanic gas. This is chemical science. It just brings all of its ingredients in and outputs all of the science. And it's Chem Plant 3s now. Just upgraded to that. Makes about 2.5, provided I have enough ingredients. Here, science processing. Science is in fact processing. We are 44% of the way through the final tech I can take right now. Here we have all of the, well, 4 of the sciences. We have the geologic science out of ores, the atmospheric science out of literally nothing but seawater and air. We have the mechanical prototypes from engine ones and iron gears. We have the electrical prototypes. Electrical? No. Yes? Whatever prototypes. Out of the battery, out of capacitors, lamps, and logic circuits, and insulated wires. And they're making their stuff. It's purple prototypes. Yes, purple. This is electrical. The green ones are chemical. Yeah, there we go. Over on this side, I'm making 1,000 ammonia per second, as well as processing my volcanic gas into sulfuric acid. And that's about all there is to say about that one. I can upgrade those buildings, put productivity modules in them instead of yield modules, etc. This is dedicated chlorine. Each unit makes 400. So I have 1,200 chlorine per second of production, and it's absolutely glorious. And that is that. This side, 60 graphite per second out of nothing, essentially out of nothing. I have a little bit of a more compact build that I've put somewhere else, and I've forgotten completely where. I have completely forgotten where I did that, as I have a cat rubbing my leg. Where did I forgot. There was a place that I needed graphite, like close to 30 per second, and I updated the build. I have it here. This is the updated build with the latest buildings as a blueprint. This makes 30 in that amount of space compared to that amount of space. It's a little bit more compact. But yeah, just to have that for when I need smaller amounts of graphite in various places. Here I'm making the boxed sand out of a bunch of sandstone. There we go. Glorious boxed sand can do the same thing, upgrading that infrastructure. This is making silicon ingots out of the boxed sand. And then over here, epoxy. Epoxy I have updated completely, so the new system of getting into the compressed carbon dioxide, processing that into carbon monoxide, making solvent. This makes extra solvent for providing onto the train network, and then it makes a bunch of epoxy. A lot. And it uses a lot of BPA boxes. And a lot of methanol, and a lot of ECH, but, you know, we'll get to that. Down here, this is the iron oxide, with some of it into more ingots. So a couple things with the ingots here. It needs a lot of caustic. Needs a lot of caustic to make that iron oxide. Over here, titanium. This is a thing that has changed a little bit. Titanium, making rutile out of the sandboxes, processing it into titanium tetrachloride, providing that onto the trade network as well. And then over here, this is modified. This takes rutile and processes it into titanium boxes, which I then unbox. Calcium chloride solution processes into solid calcium chloride that then processes directly into calcium. And it makes chlorine gas as a byproduct that I can shove lime into to make caustic that I could loop back, but I didn't hear very specifically. Because this makes quite a bit of lime. Actually, it makes more than enough lime on the output, so I would have to bring in extra chlorine anyway to deal with it. Yeah, this outputs chlorine as well, but as I said, it makes more lime than you get chlorine to reprocesses than you need to reprocess, so you need to bring in chlorine no matter what, as well as this caustic. So, bit of a different build. When dealing with calcium, you'll have to deal with extra chlorine outputs. But this vastly improves the output on the ingots. Yes, I'm using a few beacons here. I need it to go fast. Going down. ECH, yes. Upgraded all of the buildings to level 3s wherever possible. Upgraded the pipes to blacks. It makes a lot. It eats a lot of propene and chlorine, but I now have enough to sustain my ECH output. BPA boxes. Technically, I need 15 of these. Ish. Technically, I need about 15 of these for this. Not for carbon composite. I need it for the epoxy. To make enough epoxy, yeah, it's a lot of BPA boxes. But at the moment, I don't need the full 15. Yeah. This is the new setup to replace the old setup. I kept the old just because I wanted more boxes. I have 10 total now. This makes 5 boxes in this build here. And yeah, I'm dealing with the whatever output is here. Just combusting something. The ethylene, I think, is being combusted rather than reprocessed, because this recipe for alkane synthesis produces the propene and benzene at the exact ratio needed to make BPA boxes. And then methanol over here. I haven't touched methanol here. I haven't touched the original methanol. No, but I did double it. It's a little bit fewer on the overall buildings, but yeah, this makes more. This makes more than this in fewer buildings in a relatively similar footprint. It makes a lot of methanol with the level 3 buildings and the upgraded well 2s, etc. Lots and lots and lots of stuff, and of course I can just priority turbine my way out of a lot of issues now. And that'll make plenty of methanol as we go about the base. So that's the base. The current state of the base. It has been 57 minutes of talking. And that is the current state of the base. Next time, as Dolly joins me here, next time we meet, I'm actually going to go drill into the things that I still need to make. We're going to start working directly towards a lot of other things, a lot of new infrastructure. I want to get into the red circuits. I can upgrade my robots. Like I want to push towards that and getting better modules as well. There's still a lot of things to talk about, and if you've made it this far, I just want to point out these guys. Why is it that the blue uses yellow colored ingredients through sodium sulfate and aluminum hydroxide, whereas the yellow needs a blue input in those iron wires? Why does yellow concrete need blue iron wires while blue concrete need yellow sodium sulfate and aluminum hydroxide and graphite? I think maybe these got mixed up somewhere, but anyway. With that, folks, I'd like to thank you all for watching. This has been Otaku Show, but if you've enjoyed today's video, please be sure to do all of the social engagement stuff down below. As I hit my mic. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you're not yet subscribed, and hit the notification bell. Consider becoming a member of the channel by hitting the great big blue join button and supporting on Patreon at patreon.com/otakushow. But if you're so inclined and able, I will be back when I am back, and I will see you all on the next one.